Good afternoon to all respected dignitaries, faculty members, research scholars, students, and friends. It's my privilege to warmly welcome you to the seventh lecture of the Professor M.N. Parmar lecture series. This lecture series is a humble yet heartfelt initiative to honor the remarkable contributions of Professor M.N. Parmar sir, whose lifelong dedication to social work education and practice has shaped generations of professionals across Gujarat and beyond. We are especially delighted and deeply honored that Professor Eman Parmar sir is present with us today in the lecture. Sir, your presence blesses this gathering and gives greater meaning to the series that carries your name. Today's lecture focuses on increasingly urgent and transformative areas of our discipline. The topic is green social work, perspective and practices. As environmental crises intersect with issues of justice, inequality, and community well-being, social work must expand its vision. This theme invites us to rethink practice through an ecological and sustainability-oriented lens. To formally introduce our esteemed speaker for today's session, I now invite Mr. Bhavesh Jadhav to kindly introduce our guest speaker, Professor Ravindra Patil sir. Mr. Bhavesh, the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you. Uh, Thank you, Satish sir. Uh, so it is my privilege and honor to introduce our today's distinguished speaker for today's lecture series. Uh, Professor Ravindra Patil sir, an eminent academician, researcher and social work professional of national and international repute. Professor Patil sir is currently serving as the head and professor in the Department of Social Work at Jamia Millia Islamia New Delhi Central University. With over 2 decades of rich academics and research experience, he has made remarkable contribution to the field of social work, sociology, tribal development, and social justice. He holds the PhD in the social work from the Asa University, MPhil in sociology from the JNU, and master's degree in social work from the Tata Institute of Social Science. Uh, his academic journey reflects the excellence in the teaching, research supervision, curriculum development, and institutional leadership. Professor Patil sir has guided numerous PhDs, postgraduates, and undergraduate students and has been actively involved in designing innovative courses in areas such as social policies, marginalized communities, disaster management, civil society, and social science concepts. He has also authored and edited several significant books, including works on Dalit empowerment, tribal development, then disaster management, and social work practice. His publication in reputed national and international journals demonstrate his deep engagement with the issue of social exclusion, tribal rights, social justice, philanthropy, education of marginalized community, and indigenous perspective in social work. Beyond academia, if we talk, Professor Patil sir has contributed extensively to the research projects funded by national and international bodies, including ICSSR and Ford Foundation. His research particularly focused on tribal empowerment, NGO intervention, marginalized communities, and sustainable development. He has also delivered lectures and presented paper across the Indias and internationally, including Germany and other global platforms. With his vast experience in community outreach, disaster intervention, rural development, and policy advocacy, Professor Patil sir bridges theory and practice in social work education. So we are indeed fortunate to have such distinguished scholar and practitioner uh, among with us today to deliver this session, to deliver this lecture of this series. I warmly welcome Professor Ravindra Patil sir and invite him to share his valuable insight on the topic with us. Uh, Please, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Bhavesh. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Uh, uh, at the outset, I really thank the organizer and especially Professor M.N. Parmar for inviting me to deliver this lecture on green social work. But then before I start my lecture, let me go back to my memories of long relation with Professor M.N. Parmar since 2009. We met in one of the seminar, and he very kindly invited me to Baroda for that seminar, which was on. Uh, he was having one chair under the ICSR project that was under the name of Dr. Ambedkar, and that seminar was the first in 2009. Connected me with the Professor Parmar, and since then till now, I have a very cordial relation. He is just like a friend and the guide who has been suggesting on and off during my academic journey in the social work, and he is one of the mentor for me in my social work journey as a profession. Whatever the uh, description of me uh, as a learner of social sciences and social work, it is also because of the contribution of Professor M.N. Parmar. That is the reason why I can say that I could able to make something for the profession in last 25 years. So thank you very much, Professor Parmar, for your kind help, support, and being there as a friend and the elder brother. So thank you very much for the invite, as well as thank you very much for being with me throughout my academic journey here in social sciences and social work. Today's lecture is on green social work, and I'll be presenting some of the slides, whatever I have prepared, whatever I know. It is out of my interest in the areas of environmental social work, and that is what I am going to present it here in front of you. Can you can you see my slides?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
sir.
We can.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
sir.
Thank you. Basically, this topic is uh, out of concern of how we look at the environment, how we look at the ecology, how we look at the entire environmental degradation, climate change, greenhouse gas emission. Also, how the new world order is changing. When I say about the new world order is changing, uh, very famous quote from the Italian philosopher Antonio Gramsci, which reminds me about the today's world. And this is what he has said: the old world order is dying, the new world struggles to be born, and now is the time for the monsters. And this goes very much in the present context of how the uh, traditional society, which was more based on the artisans, their skills, farming, agrarian economy, which is also still the part of our society, but it has been mechanized over the period of time, and because of that only we could able to get the self sufficiency in the agrarian economy. But it says that it has been dying in some or other way. So that journey of traditional society towards the colonial rules in the world, and the colonial rule which has changed the world uh, in a such a way that which has made the entire globe as the uh, globe is for the expansion, it's for the trading, it's for the ruling or the third world countries, underdeveloped countries, from the global north to global south perspective. And you all know who were the all colonies, starting from the British, Spanish, French, Portuguese, and so on others. After that, probably the kind of entire the industrialization process has been started. Towards in the present context is the how the world order is changing, where the people, where the sorry, where the countries, superpower countries, one China and another is the USA, they are trying to having the control over the world through trade, through AI, through nuclear power, through their armies, through their arms and ammunitions, through their trade policies, and so on. And that's what it is. It reminds me of this Antonio Gramsci's entire famous quoting of the world: "Old order is dying, and the new world struggles to be born." And now it's time for the monsters. And that's what you can say in the present geopolitical context. This quotation of Antonio Gramsci is very much relevant in the context of the present day politics, policy, as well as geopolitical reasons, as well as in the context of the international relation as well. So this is what I look at the present world order. I'll just give you the first overview of what is going around in the world in terms of superpower and supremacy. And then we'll see that how that has been affecting the entire territory, globe, ecology, and all of that. So, China-America rivalry is basically for the supremacy, adding tension not to the humanity and the survival of human society, uh, but then also to entire territory, environment, and the ecology. It is because again, uh, because of technological innovations and their supremacy in the technology, they can go as far as possible in the context of even expanding their territory. And then uh, the the example, very recent examples of having claiming for the right over the Greenland, and then American also the uh, you know capturing the president of the Venezuela. It itself is says that there is a certain natural resources are there both in the both these territory, and that itself is their main intention to take over those two lands. Specifically talking about the U.S. claim for the Greenland, it is. Hello, sir. Hello. I'm good. Good. Excuse me. Sorry. So basically, in the context of the Greenland itself, if you can see the location of the Greenland is basically at the top of the uh, it is at the top of the uh, northern part. Greenland is also been considered as the refrigerator of the world, which controls, which regulate the atmosphere of the world. But then suppose because of the climate change, if the glaciers in the Greenland gets melted, there could be more uh, chances of ships from the across the European continent as well as from the Russia and China can easily cross that region. That was the also the one reason that the land which has been so far remain untouched by the other territory can be accessed by the other countries. Second, if the glaciers get melted, there would be more chances for the world and especially for the superpowers to look for the minerals, bauxites, and the other kind of resources, which is very important from the perspective of the establishing their mercantile order. So it is in this context when it is said that this entire overview of the world and the superpowers, which is more mercantile in nature, is more towards the making money. It is going to really create a harm to the world. It is going to create harm to the Mother Earth. It creates the more issues pertaining to climate change, environmental degradation, in the society. And this particular uh, mercantile order is also towards you know it's creating the more tensions between the different countries. Not per se the something kind of bilateral relations are going to be affected, but in general, the existence of the world is going to be threatened. So it is in that context, uh, it is required that more global corporations which are coming up, whether it's United Nations conventions on climate change or the any other United Nations funds for the climate change, and then the regional level association from associations for the addressing the existential challenges of the climate change required. But then at the nation level is also the regulations are required on the basis of whether it's the Paris Agreement or the Kyoto Protocol or the other conventions of the United Nations. But then, when we see it from the perspective of uh, human service profession like social work, uh, this climate change is also another area where we must have our approaches and strategies for the intervention to protect and to preserve the mother earth. And this is not something new I am talking about. It has been age old practice in the society, and especially in the Indian society, where the nature has been worshipped, where our festivals, our festivities are part and parcel of the mother nature. So this particular the value system which we had over the period of time generated and preserved, that itself is it gives that the Indian perspective towards Mother Earth and protecting the Mother Earth is not something very new. It has been age old practice. Specifically talking about the practices like Vad Savitri as a festival, which is generally practiced in Maharashtra, Gujarat areas, and also in the Karnataka. It is basically it's worshipping of Mother Nature. Giving water to tulsi plant itself is that we care for the Mother Earth. In case of tribal population, their habitat it itself is into the jungle, and before cutting any wood, they basically worship and then only they cut it, or they rather replace it with the new one. So this is how the Indian perspective towards it. So in the context of perspective also, when we see from the global north and the global south perspective, it is absolutely different than what it has been there. Global north see from the perspective of growth, industrialization, and creating the kind of harm to the climate, and then coming out with the climate technology as an innovation to protect it. In case of the global south, it has been the traditional practices where to preserve the mother earth and protect the mother earth with its own behavior value system, and at the same time through the traditional practices. So in this context, I'm trying to build the idea here for that how the human service profession like social work is required its own approaches and strategies for protecting the environment in the present context, because only traditional practices are not going to serve that much. But then apart from that, one disciplinary action, one disciplinary kind of thought process, one disciplinary kind of perspective need to be rolled out, so that the existential issue like climate change can be tackled by the people. Uh, what I mean here is what is green social work. You all must be knowing about Lena Dominelli. She has given this concept. and this is what it has been talked about. The social work practice that recognizes the environmental degradation as a social justice issue and integrates ecological sustainability into all levels of intervention. What does it simply mean? That it simply means that uh, apart from the serving the human society, or apart from serving the vulnerability, deprivation, or for that matter, marginalization, from the perspective of the social justice, green social work practice is basically talking about or be visualizing the environmental degradation again create the similar kind of vulnerability and deprivation in the society, where marginalized and the poor section suffers more than the non-poor category. That doesn't mean that because of air pollution, rich people don't suffer. They equally suffer. But then, when it's the environmental degradation or the disasters are there, it is in that the people, those who are not having the support system, those who do not have the sustained economic background, or those who do not have the proper livelihood, or those whose life is dependent on the forest and the agriculture, they suffers more. And it is in that context I say that the environmental degradation, if you can take the perspective of the political ecology, it itself says that it is the marginalized get more affected because of environmental degradation. In general, some of the community, and you all must be aware about that, the some of the marginalized group, they do not have hold over the resources, whether they are backward classes or SC, STs. If you see their land holding pattern, it is very less compared to the dominant group. If you see their hold over the water as a resources, it is very negligent. Sometimes it is not available for them, or it has been neglected to them. Or if you can take the example of that common village resources itself, their participation is very less. So I won't go into this, the caste system and the caste based discrimination concept here, but then I just try to put this into the context of the social justice, as well as in the context of how this entire political ecology one needs to understand in the context of the environmental degradation, and how this environmental degradation affect differently to the marginalized group and to the well-off group. So since last 2 3 months, you must be knowing that during the winter time, Delhi air pollution goes above 450.
No.
So that doesn't mean that it doesn't affect the rich people. It does affect the rich people as well, but at least rich people can access to the air purifier compared to the those who can't. And because of this itself, I say that how your economic status, or at the same time your social standing in the society, affects the your or rather
Lab.
makes you vulnerable towards the any kind hazards of the environment. So, views of the environment here in the green social work is central to human well-being, and it is being and not it is considered to be peripheral. It is basically also saying that the how environmental degradation affecting the marginalized more. It is also green social work says that there is a responsibilities on the human service professions, and especially the social work, to promote the ideas of sustainable livelihood, and not only the sustainable livelihood, but then sustainable development, and then 17 goals of the sustainable development. And when you can see that the all those 17 goals of the sustainable development, you will find around 5 to 6 goals which are directly related to the environment, whether it's water, whether it's a clean air, whether it's a infrastructure, whether it's a blue economy, all those kind of things. So it is basically green social work. He is also more trying to emphasize on the sustainable development goal and sustainable livelihoods, as well as ecological resilience, that how to protect and how to develop the capacity among the people to fight adverse effects of the ecology. And basically, it advocates for the systematic change toward the ecological justice. So this is what the larger viewpoint of the green social work in the context of in the context of society and in the context of the our social work intervention. So green social work see the person in environment. So person in environment as a concept in traditional social work practice is different than the when you see that the person in environment from the green social work perspective. In the green social work perspective, when we see that the person in environment is basically towards saying that how what are the different aspect is connected with the individual, and how those different aspects are are contributing as well as affecting the individual. It is in that context one has to see that how climate change as well as the environmental degradation basically affect the individual and his well-being, and how that if once that well-being get affected, how that going to create the problems not for the one individual but group of people, and further it adding to the problems of the society. So with this particular background and the viewpoint, one can look at the green social work as a concept for the intervention in the in the society with the human being. There are few philosophical foundations one can understand, as I already talked about the environmental justice, but then it is also trying to talk about the environmental justice from the philosophical foundation of the deep ecology, where it is giving the importance to the all life in the society, whether it's animal or small insect towards all plants, all seeds, saplings, everything, and these all connected to the human society. So there is a deep interconnection between ecology to the human society. It is if it is ecology and ecological imbalance, if it takes place, there is a high chances that there would be disturbance in the human connections, and there would be disturbance also for the human society. And that is what the first philosophical perspective of the deep ecology is there. The another one is it's ecofeminism. It's linking the how the disturbance of the environment or the disturbance of the forest is basically oppressing the women and its identity in the society. So basically, ecofeminism looks at from the feminist perspective. So with the green social work is basically saying that the domination of the nature, or linking the domination of the nature with the oppression of the women and the marginalized groups in the society, and their hold over resources is less, and this having the less hold over the resources, especially in the context of the gender, it affects the women more. So simple example could be that if tribal women restricted to avail the firewood for the cooking purpose from the forest officer, itself is the saying that her entire other responsibility, the household responsibilities or taking caring and nurturing of the family get disturbed because of that. Or for that matter, if there's a water facilities is not nearby house, it added to her responsibility. It added more to her responsibility to fetch a water from the distant side. So, from the ecofeminism perspective, basically, it is trying to talk about the whether the women as a group has any rights over the property, especially the natural property, or not. And it is in that context, if she doesn't have the rights over the natural resources and natural property, it is going to make her more oppressed and marginalized group in the society. The third worldview is basically a philosophical foundation, indigenous one. It is basically, as I said, that the indigenous and traditional worldview of the uh, green social work or protecting the environment is basically is giving back to the nature. It is more like interconnecting with it. It is, one can learn from the tribal lifestyle that how they treat the jungle, how they treat the forest, how they get interconnected with the jungle, and live in that vicinity of jungle as it's one of the part of it, which is different than the people those who are not from that part of the territory or the forest, or for that matter not believes in that particular restriction. So it is, in that context, the larger and the broader philosophy of the green social work is basically trying to tell us that one should develop more interconnectedness with the ecology environment. It is also see from the perspective of that the resources and the equal distribution of the resources of ecology and environment is important for the for from the gender perspective, and minimizing the various other marginalization of the women in the society. It is also trying to say that one should have more reciprocal relation with the nature and environment. It is not, it should not be only anthropocentric view that everything is meant for human society and human society will use it as per their own requirement. Rather, it should be more based on the ecocentric view that you should respect the ecocentric ecology. One should respect the environment, and give back to the environment rather than using it only. So these are the philosophical foundations of the environmental society. So I won't go into much detail here in the emergence and origin, because if you can see in terms of the how it has been emerged from the Indian context is different than the world context. When I see in the context of the US and then the Europe, the entire ecological movement is started way back in the 18th and then early 18th century. And when they understood that the industrialization process is giving them the better productivity and production and making them more technological advanced for the production purpose, but then it is also affecting the their natural resources, forest. So in from their perspective, the protecting the environment was from the perspective of the creating the more national parks, creating the more protected forests, creating more the restricted forest, so that the venture of the outsiders are going to be restricted. So once you protect that forest under the National Forest Act or the for the reserve forest, so it means that in that particular place or the territory is not going to be harassed. So that was the initially beginning of the environmentalism as a concept in the West, that how human society can control the environmental harassment from the legal perspective, and that is what it started with the again the in US by saying that how industrialization is affecting, and then how one should protect it. So creation of these all sort of restricted forests or the preserve forests or the national parks was from their side. Of late, if you can see in the Indian context, it is largely the I will take these examples later. It's all about the small movements at the in the Indian subcontinent, especially in the North India, whether it's a Chipko movement or for that matter your Sardar Sarovar project and the Narmada Bachao Andolan. These were the more highlights of the how this entire movements of how this entire environmentalism as a concept has came into the existence, which one can align with the green social work. In 1990s onward, the environmental justice movement links to the ecology, race, class, caste inequalities, and all other kind of things. Basically, trying to say about that how the issues of jal, jungle, jameen is important for the tribals, or how this land inequities in the society itself is creating the poverty and the marginalization, or for that matter, how the entire Bhopal gas tragedy itself is something which is say that where the people from the marginalized and the poor group, those who stay in the slums, suffers because of such kind of chemical projects or the such kind of man-made disaster. So 90s basically seen this environmental or social work or green social work from the perspective of inequality, discrimination, and marginalization. Towards 2000, slightly the social work discipline started talking about that it is not only the welfare and development approach work, rather one should see the person in environment, and that person in environment need to be reframed not from only the societal perspective but then from the perspective of the environment, that how this environment itself is need to see, and how his identity or her identity is in the context of environment ecology get equally affected if one is not getting the proper air to breathe. So Article 21 of the Indian Constitution it talks about right to life. And but this,
આજે એમણે નક્કી કર્યું હવાનું કે આપણે આજે છોડ
so
દેવા લઈને આયા એવું છે મૂકવાનું
so
છે
somebody is, I don't know, mic is on. So it is in this context basically one has to see that how this person in environment is is one can see from the ecology and environmental perspective. Toward the 2008, this Lena Dominic coined the term called green social work, which is formally later been globalized. But then, if I can see in terms of the emergence of environmental movement per se and the ecological consciousness in Indian context, it is more age old, and it is the part and parcel of the Indian tradition, where one can also say that the Indian knowledge system has a greater role in designing this green social work as a framework. So these are the some of the core elements of the green social work. It basically say talks in the context of that human society and the ecosystem are mutually dependent, and this mutual dependence is basically for making this mother earth to uh, survive in better way. This makes the mother earth to function better and gives the maximum benefit to the human society. uh, Green social work also talks in the context of the justice point of view, where the unequal environmental burdens on the poor should be minimized. And the third one, it is also talks about that it is largely focusing on the sustainable development, where it is saying that one should behave responsibly while using the natural resources. So word responsible is very important from the perspective of environmental green social work, is that how responsibly you are using. Now this is very normative and the value based questions to all of us, that how responsibly we are using the water. If we see in the context in the with the data and the research, the maximum number of water, almost more than 80% of the water goes for the agricultural purpose, and which is also the different kind of crops we take over the period of time. Some crops like kela and then the other fruits which require more water compared to the millets. So it means that there is something drastic change is required also in our fooding pattern. Our habit of having the rice and then wheat based chapati itself has created a lot of impact on the environmental resources, and especially the water and the soil. So it is in that context also the sustainable development and sustainable development goals basically trying to say that one should behave more responsibly and more responsibly in terms of not only using the natural resources but then also designing the strategy for the cropping pattern as well as using the resources which is given for us as well as more toward that what as per the need one should consume the natural resources. uh, Green social work is also trying to talk in the sense in terms of the prevention and the resilience as is one of the core element which say that the proactive measures to reduce vulnerability and environmental risk, and these proactive measures to reduce the vulnerability and environmental risk from the perspective of that key if you harm the environment, it will the chances that you will get affected because of the wrath of the mother earth or the environment. So preventive and resilience is the another core element is that you prevent people from the natural disaster, prevent people from the vulnerability, prevent people from the flood. Technological innovation can prevent people from the cyclone, or the technological innovations and the early warning system can prevent people from the disaster. So this is also the another core element of the green social work. Then the fifth one is there is also need to make some structural changes in the lifestyle, and in terms of that if it is also say that the challenges system producing the ecological harm and the inequality. And when I say that challenging system or the challenges the system which is producing ecological harm, like you take the example of the fertilizers and how the fertilizer itself which is chemical based creating the harm to the soil and then soil quality. So it is in that context one can say that whether some organic food it could be the could change the lifestyle of the people, can bring the lifestyle in the people's choices while using the certain food, can change the our behavioral pattern. So it is in that context it is structural change as the core element of the green social work, trying to say that how one can see that in what way we can minimize the harm to the ecology and the environment. And the last one is it is more indigenous and local knowledge, and it's more wisdom is essential for the green social work. One needs to take the traditional viewpoints while dealing with the environment and the ecology, and that practices should be inculcated in the social work practice. So it is in that context I look at this environment and green social work as a concept, green social work as a concept which would be the useful for the for the social work practice. And when I say it's a why, I say that the climate change and the environment degradation is basically affecting the millions of population. Uh, Climate change and then the environmental degradation, it is not simply the environmental problems but then it is basically environmental crimes we are committing to the human society or committing to the ecology, and it has its more rampant impact on the vulnerable population more because of climate change. There is a concept called climate migration has there, and many people they leave places of drought prone areas because there they cannot survive, hence they are shifting to the better areas where they can get the livelihood options, where they can get an employment, where they can survive. And but because of this migration there is some doubly it's affect the some of the better off places or the where these facilities are available. So density of population again further creates vulnerability in the urban areas in terms of slum, in terms of many other socio-cultural problems in the urban area. So that could be the one way I can say that in order to prevent these further hazards, uh, one should uh, one should promote the green social work. The second one is traditional social work often ignores the ecological context of the social problem. So yes, the entire inception of the social work, it was more human centric. It is because of, I can say, the industrialization process. It is because of the First World War, Second World War, human rights violation, genocide because of Hitler, and then in other industrialization problems because of industrialization problems. And we focus more uh, on the aspect of discrimination, marginalization, vulnerability. But then in the present context, and probably next, uh, whatever the years to come, the problems of the society and the world is not only because of the drudgery or the vulnerability. It is because of the environmental degradation. It is maybe because of it, it is because going to be because of the climate change and then climate related problems. So that one needs to understand not only from the perspective of only from the human welfare, but then in the context of sustainable development and ecological protection. Third is the disaster. Natural disaster basically create the new forms of displacement, trauma, poverty, vulnerability. So that is also the connection between the environmental degradations and the disasters, and there is a need for the disaster proper disaster management. One of the best contribution of Gujarat, especially after the earthquake of 2002, the Gujarat state has come out with the Gujarat State Disaster Management Act, which later gave the to the government of India to have its Disaster Management Act in 2005. So I was there in Gujarat, in Rapar Taluka, Bajau, Kutch district for the disaster management. So what I look at this as the one state initiative, one state's policy can be a example for the entire country to have something related to disaster prevention. So in the context of the environmental disasters, the new forms of displacement, trauma, migration, poverty will come, and these vulnerability can be dealt through the policy mechanism, dealt through the proper visionary act. It can be dealt through the proper structured program. That is what I can say. The one of the examples one can say that the Gujarat had initiated that particular act, which has later become the example for the country to have after tsunami in the Chennai in 2004. Then the green social work basically expand the social work relevance in the 21st century, that we should not only focus on the human centric issues, but then see that how ecology affects the human society and how different forms of problems comes because of the environment. And the last one is basically uh, green social work basically aligns with the sustainable development goals. As I said, that 4 to 5 goals are directly related to environment, Paris Agreement, global justice movement, and at the India level, if I can see, around 17 acts are directly related to environmental aspect, whether it's the water pollution, air pollution, environmental protection, and around 22 programs and the schemes are particularly for the environmental awareness and environmental prevention is there. So this is what largely I see the relevance of the green social work in the present context and for our practice. Unfortunately, I found that many schools of social work, there are 1,000+ schools of social work. Very few schools are having environmental social work as a syllabus. Very few schools are having something called as environmental protection and the social work. So there is a need for the profession is that to promote environmental protection from the lens of the green social work. There is a need for talk about the sustainable development goals and the sustainable development goals from the perspective of preserving the environment. So with this, I stop here. If you have any observation, question, you may please go ahead with that.
Nandrabhai, any question from any participants? Teacher can
So
also.
far in chat box, no, sir.
So, thank you very much, sir. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, yes, please.
So, thank you very much, sir, for the enlightening and thought-provoking lecture. Your reflections have certainly deepened our, understanding of the ecological dimensions of social work practice. Uh, is there any questions? We will now, open this session for questions and interaction. So, participants, if they have any questions, they can virtually, raise their hand through this Google Meet link, Google Meet forum, and if they have any questions, they can directly ask, or they can, type in chat box also. Professor Parmar, sir, if you have any remarks on
Yes, yes, yes.
question, please. Yes, sir.
Yeah, let me. Uh, Thanks to Professor Ravindra Patil, our friend, philosopher, guide, always supportive. And today, Ravi has remembered 2009. Since then, we know each other, we consult each other, we support each other, and we take guidance of each other. Today, the topic was very good, rather very relevant, apt for the social work professionals, bring social work perspective and practices. We have heard a lot about this particular concept, and today Professor Ravindra has made it very easy and help us to understand the whole concept. Because everyone talks about environment, everyone talks about the disaster management, but what exactly we are supposed to do, what exactly we need to work, and how this uh, the whole issue has come up, and what are the areas which are badly affected. So, what happens at global level, what happens at local level, and how we need to work, to protect environment degradation, even the climate change. That is very very important. I must tell you that in 2022 we carried out one survey in the city of Vadodara, the effects of floods. That after floods or say post effect floods, it affects to the skin, of the community people. It develops lot of skin disease also, and it affects in many other ways. We studied entire projects and submitted report to the government, and of course the government of Gujarat has a disaster policy also, and they work for the environment protection also. So as Professor Ravindra very rightly said, that lot of things we need to initiate with reference to the climate change, because ultimately the community people, weaker and vulnerable sections are affected very badly, because they have no choice where to go, and therefore the social work is very very important, because it's a helping profession, it is a people's profession, and we always see that what can be done to help the climate affected people. So for us it is very very important, and we need to work on these areas also. The schools of social work, yes, very few schools of social work, they have this as a part of syllabus and they are covering. But then now gradually many schools of social work have introduced this as a topic, even the subject itself, and we are working on it. But then simply work will not help. With all commitments, we need to work, because what is happening at global level, what is happening at the local level, we need to think. And issues of Jad, Jamin and Jungle has to be addressed little differently, and people should be supported accordingly. In the present context, the role of social worker is very important. So maybe in the promotion, prevention, treatment, rehabilitation, at all the level we can help, and we can create good environment, because we need to see what will happen next. On the one side we have heavy industrialization, we have use of lot of pesticides, we have use of lot of fertilizers, and everyone talks about its effect, but then nobody is interested in working for it. Of course now people are aware, they are talking more about the organic food, even the the prakritik kheti, and they are working on it. But then those movements are very slow at a very small level. It has to be at the national level, it has to be at a bigger level, which can really help people to understand this problem, and also work for it. Even garbage management, another big issues, that particularly now we know that the urbanization is increasing very fast, and people in the search of employment, in the search of good life, comforts, they migrate to the city area, and they live in a very unhygienic condition sometimes, even no proper facility, and sometimes it affects to the environment as a whole. So we must think that this is a new dimension, new areas for us, and we need to work on these areas also. So I'm very happy that Professor Ravindraji has thrown very important lights on these areas, and it is very very useful for us. And today we have all the teachers, PhD scholars, some heads of the department. They need to think that now this is also one of the area where we need to work, and we must see that how to reduce the environment degradation, provide good the good climate to the people, and also educating people properly about the entire concept. So with this note, I must take a note of the contribution of Professor Ravi, who has really made a lot of efforts to address all of us. So we are thankful to you, Ravi, and we look forward to have more such the address from your side. I'm grateful to Dr. Narendra, because he takes a lot of pain in inviting good people, in writing mails to them, and in organizing the entire lecture series. So every seventh, we have decided to have this program, and Dr. Narendra and his team, they are working very hard. Dr. The other, the Dinesh Bhai, even the Amit, Ashwin, Bhavesh, Satish, all of them are putting a lot of efforts. And of course, from Faculty of Social Work, Dr. Jaya Lakshmi, all of them are putting efforts to make this program a great success, and also giving new message to the students, new message to the research scholar, and also to the social work practitioners. So with this note, I thanks all of you for making this efforts to provide new areas to the people. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Ravi.
Very nice and
Thank you.
nice to see you.
Thank you.
And I wish you good health.
Thank you.
Thank you, Parmar sir, for your remarks. I would like to now invite Amit Patel sir for formally giving vote of thanks for this particular session. Please, Amit sir.
Yes, thank you, Satish sir. Respected Professor Magan Parmar sir, Professor Ravindra Patil, dear faculty members and students. At the conclusion of this enriching seventh lecture of the Professor M.N. Parmar lecture series, it is my proud privilege to propose the vote of thanks. Today's lecture truly reaffirmed the words of Mahatma Gandhi. The earth provides enough to satisfy every man's need, but not every man's greed. Through his insightful deliberation on green social work, perspective, and practice, our distinguished speaker, Professor Ravindra Patil, beautifully connected social work values with ecological responsibility. His scholarly depth, practical insights, and visionary perspective have inspired us to rethink our role as a social worker in safeguarding both people and the planet. On behalf of everyone present, I extend our sincere gratitude to Professor Patil for sharing his wisdom and experience with us. In his session, he briefly gave the information regarding his relationship with Professor M.N. Parmar for 25 years. He also highlighted the world order, geopolitics, climate change, environment degradation, how social work must evolve approaches and strategies for the intervention to protect and preserve the Mother Earth. What is green social work? Its concepts, its philosophies. So through this lecture, he highlighted the four main things: protecting natural environment, promoting sustainable development, addressing environmental inequalities, and supporting communities affected by climate change and environment degradation. With that, I would like to share certain things that we are going to organize one national seminar for 2 days in our Department of Social Work at NS Patel Arts College, Anand, on 27th and 20th February. This is the brochure of this, and we look forward for your active participation and support. Okay.
Thank
So,
you.
this lecture series stands as a tribute to enduring legacy of Professor M.N. Parmar, whose life and work continue to guide generations of social work professionals. As rightly said, a teacher affects eternity. You can never tell where his influence stops. We remain deeply grateful for the ideals and values he has bestowed upon the social work fraternity in Gujarat. Thank you, Professor Magan sir. I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to the organizing committee, faculty members, and all those who work tirelessly behind the scenes to make this lecture a success. Your commitment and reflects the spirit of collaboration that social work upholds. My sincere appreciations also goes to all the participants, students whose presence and engagement added vibrancy to this academic discourse. As Rachel Carson reminds us, in nature, nothing exists alone. Your collective participation made today's program meaningful and memorable. Through this, I end this my word of thanks that you cannot ensure social justice without environmental justice. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to everyone. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Swindra.
Thank you.